Let's head down to the feature match area for the next round of action here from Indy. Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Indianapolis. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Eric Froelich, and we have a nice one this round. We've got Valentin Mackl versus Luis Scott-Vargas. I believe our graphic is wrong. I think both of these players are sitting at 10-1 in the tournament, and we've got Dark Jeskai for Luis and Green-White Megamorph for Valentin. Two decks capable of doing kind of two things at the same time. One, presenting a pressure on your opponent's life total, but also getting a lot of card advantage in the mid to late game if they need to.
Yeah, absolutely. Luis winning the die roll is pretty important. I assume he's got to turn to Jace because you can see a Fiery Impulse in his hand. He chose to fetch, got the blue land for Jace, and so he actually doesn't have red mana online to actually cast Fiery Impulse, so that Warden's going to potentially become a 3/3.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Luis doesn't mind that because that means Jace is going to live. So kind of
it's a trade-off, yeah.
A win-win situation for Luis. Either the Warden cannot pump or the Jace is going to live. He'll take either.
Now, if Mackl has Dromoka's command here,
oh yeah,
does he just snap it off, put a counter on, fight it, and get that thing out of there?
Snap it off.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like he has Dromoka's command and he has Silk Wrap. So he actually has a decision. He's going to go with Dromoka's command. More effective if he needs to deal with a Mantis Rider next turn.
Okay. So a downswing there for Luis Scott-Vargas as Mackl takes care of Jace and hits him for 2. So applying pressure and removing cards at the same time is nice for Valentin Mackl. And here is Soulfire Grandmaster for Luis Scott-Vargas.
And he had the Bloodstained Mire to get the Mountain. That's going to turn the Fiery Impulse on, and he's going to gain a couple life in the process.
And he's just going to fire it off in the main phase here as well.
And Mackl's going to have a decision here of whether he actually wants to Silk Wrap the Soulfire Grandmaster. Luis still has a Mantis Rider in hand, but it is his last spell.
He's got Land Rider. Now on Valentin's side, he's got a bunch of cards in hand here.
Yeah, he's only deployed two cards. He's on the draw. He's going to have some options. It looks like there's a Den Protector in there.
Yeah.
Don't really want to expose that if you don't have to. That's what he's going to go with. Cards flying everywhere.
Vista there for Valentin.
Forget his Expeditions.
Yeah. He's got some pretty cards in this deck. There's no doubt about that.
Trying to make Luis feel bad. Luis, of course, famous for opening Expeditions in most of his packs. Another land. All right, so yeah, this game is not going like it looks great on board, but it's really not going the way Luis wants. He has no follow-up, and there's a Den Protector that's going to flip to bring back Dromoka's command if he wants it. He's going to get Silk Wrap, a Mantis Rider. He can just clear the board right now.
And Luis has nothing to back it up.
Luis has nothing. He's going to need a Treasure Cruise or a Tassiger type of threat to even kind of get back in this game. That might not even be enough.
He's going to find himself so far behind here.
Yeah, he's incredibly far behind despite literally being ahead right now.
He will get a bit of a window here as Luis is on 20 life. But he's going to need to find action and quickly. Valentin's content to just hit for 2 here with his Morph. And there's Silk Wrap to take down the Mantis Riders, as we saw. Now he does get to untap with the Soulfire Grandmaster.
Yeah, Valorous stance in hand, and it looks like a second Den Protector. So Valentin was happy to just trade his Den Protector. He would flip it up, get a card back, trade with Mantis Rider and have another Den Protector that could bring back the first one. So that chain of advantage is pretty tough to overcome. And the fact that Luis doesn't even have a spell, it's good. It's not good. Now, he did draw Fire Impulse, which is kind of a great draw in a way because he has enough mana to be able to bring it back with Soulfire Grandmaster. So should this Den Protector flip during the end step, Luis can respond by basically casting Fire Impulse with the buyback. So he's going to gain 2 life, kill the Den Protector, and the Fire Impulse is going to stay in his hand.
Yeah, Luis says, I will stop you right there, sir. He's going to get it back.
So a lot of value for Luis, but still dangerously far behind. Just that's the only spell in his hand. Valentin has another Den Protector in hand. He got Dromoka's command back. He's got a Warden of the First Tree just sitting there and a Valorous Stance, so actually an answer to Tassiger as well.
Whew. Yeah, this green-white Megamorph deck is no joke. We've seen this core around for a while in Standard. Kind of one of the bigger differences with the lists that we've been seeing at this tournament from Brad Nelson and from Valentin here is that Knight of the White Orchid has entered the fray. He's running 3 of them.
Gonna level up the Warden, Dromoka's command, take down the Soulfire Grandmaster. So
Wow.
Luis really wants to draw a spell. A spell that he can get into his graveyard that'll turn Fire Impulse on. Preferably Dig Through Time. Just another land.
Oof.
So this Fire Impulse doesn't have Spell Mastery. There's just another Impulse in the graveyard.
Right.
And nothing but lands for Luis. So yeah, this game's just going to continue to slip further and further away.
Yeah, this is just dire times for Luis Scott-Vargas here in game 1. And remember, Valentin Mackl just has a bunch of action in hand. He's got a Deathmist Raptor, a Den Protector, and a Valorous Stance. So he's just chock full of gasoline here where Luis is on empty. And in the meantime, Valentin also has a threat on the battlefield. Pretty big one, too. It's a 4/4.
Yeah, that's a big Warden. It'll close out the game fast. He can give it lifelink, no reason to at this point. It's sinking basically all his mana is turned into it. He's got Valorous Stance up, so can just continue to deploy threats. Nothing really Luis can do.
This is that second Den Protector with the mana to flip it face up for Mackl. And once Luis draws his card for the turn, Mackl is going to know that the way is clear.
Yeah, I mean, Luis can Fire Impulse this, but that just means the other Den Protector comes back to his hand, so it's a good tempo game, but tempo's not really what you're looking for when your opponent has a 4/4 creature and play multiple cards in hand and you have nothing.
And you know what? Luis isn't even going to bother firing it off. He did find a spell here, though. Couldn't quite see what it was. He's passed the turn back.
Looks like Negate.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
It is a negate.
Not
You're
much
right,
of a
bro.
spell.
Yeah, and Den Protector back to hand for Mackl, and now all of a sudden he's got 7 power on the board, and this one's going to be over quickly. The chat thinks that Luis needs to find some Ancestral Recalls to get out of this one.
That would help.
All right, well, Deathmist Raptor now for Mackl. He's going to keep the other Den Protector
Another
safely in
land.
his hand. And Luis is just about done here. This attack would bring him down to 1.
All right, so he's got time.
Here's Fiery Impulse to take down the Den Protector from Luis. Giving him only taking 7 this turn. Down to 4. There's the other Den Protector, and this will be the last draw step for Luis. Unless it's something amazing. It was not amazing. It was a Mantis Rider, but way too late. And Valentin Mackl takes down game 1. He's looking to improve to 11-1 and really get down the stretch here for the top 8. Now, Luis, though, wants to do the same thing. He's going to have to win 2 games to do that. Now, let's jump over to our back match here where we have Lexi Metler. She's running Abzan. She's playing against Bob Culp. Lexi is she's a level 2 judge. And it's always funny whenever one of the judges has a good run in a tournament, you know, the other judges are always buzzing about it. Hey, did you see? Yeah.
Yeah, those judges are a tight-knit group for the most part.
They are.
She's got a pretty big life advantage, although when a million creatures come swinging at you, it never looks too good. It's like the tides are getting ready to turn, and Wingmate Rock is just massive.
Boom.
Looks like Lexi's got a Wingmate Rock of her own and an Abzan charm. Still a couple mana shy of being able to deploy both in the same turn. Looks like another copy of Gideon off the top. Again, can't play 2 spells this turn, though. Unless she decides to draw 2 at the Abzan charm, draws a land, can maybe cast a Gideon that way. But
I mean, we're operating under the assumption that she's not at 18 at this point, right?
no, I think there's a reasonable chance he's at 18. It
Okay.
looked like a lot of that attack. That attack took down a Gideon, so I'm not sure how many creatures came at the Gideon. And, you know, she gained 3 life off Siege Rhino.
No, yeah, that makes sense.
Definitely reasonable.
I mean, right now, Bob has 15 power on the board.
It's
Not
a
bad.
reasonable amount of power. 17 if you count lands.
Yeah, that's without the shambling vents, too, so. So she's trying to set up Bob here for the double block with Wingmate Rock, use my Abzan charm to take out one of the rocks.
Yeah, that would be most likely optimal. Kind of giving away Abzan charm by attacking with this Knight token. There's not a lot of things that you can have besides Abzan charm when the Knight token comes into a couple 3/4s. Although not entirely sure you want to attack with the Knight token on this board no matter what. It's just a decent blocker when your opponent has out 3 1/1s.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Looks like mana's coming this way.
So Bob is sacking a Scion here.
Well, gets 1 million scry triggers.
It was actually 3 million he got.
3 million scry triggers.
Yeah. You got to be accurate here in the booth, Efro. No shortcuts. Now it looks like out of the 3 million scry triggers, he found exactly the card he wanted with the first one. The rest will go to waste. Oh, speaking of waste.
Yeah, he'll secure all of his wastes.
So this is secure the waste for what, 4?
Looks like 4 to me.
All right. What is he going to do with these? He's at 7 life. You know, one thing Bob's going to be super cognizant of is not falling below 3, so he doesn't just lose to another Siege Rhino here.
Yeah, that's pretty smart.
So that's in his mind.
If he gets to untap with Wingmate Rock in play, though, he can gain.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I
five,
believe
six,
it's still
7,
3 million.
10. Yeah, here you counted it up right. Yeah, so he's going to chump block there.
Registration for the new Legacy Flute is now closed. Players not currently in line for that event.
And he's lining up what looks to be a massive block on the Rhino here.
Yeah, this will
So
take
this-
down the Rhino through pretty much anything.
Yeah, so even an Abzan charm taking out the Wingmate Rock still has the Rhino dead. Why don't we jump back to our first match, Scott-Vargas versus Valentin Mackl. They're just underway here in the early stages of Game 2. Luis finds himself down a game to Valentin.
Looks like another turn 2 Jace for Luis. With no turn 1 Warden, that turns off Dromoka's command as a way to deal with it. Looks like there's a Silk Wrap ready, though.
Booster draft 50. Booster draft pile 53. Booster draft pile 53. Please come to gathering point.
Now, we saw earlier today, Efro, that Luis did have a few cards that he could board in, fill out our cub to take down cards like Silk Wrap. Will he have brought those in a matchup where he's seen Silk Wrap, but maybe not a ton of them?
Yeah, you can be pretty safe that there's at least 3 Silk Wraps, maybe 4. Other cards like Evolutionary Elite, Master of the Unseen are not too uncommon, neither is Stasis Snare, so definitely pretty reasonable to bring in the 1 copy of Cub. It's unlikely to be terrible, and if you have Jace and they're not Silk Wrapping it, you can discard it to Jace as well. And lots of ways to be able to bring creatures back from the graveyard, so
Right.
usually just worth it to have that option.
And you're just not going to get Cub flooded very often. All right, here's Mantis Rider for Luis Scott-Vargas, right on time, turn 3. He went Jace into Mantis Rider, so things were good. And this is where we get to see the power of Knight of the White Orchid here. This is the players that have been playing this card have been really impressed by it in Standard currently. It had a run back in the day as well. So we see some shortcutting here, but what's happening is he's playing it with 2 lands out. Since Luis has 3, he's going to get to go get a Plains. Then he's going to crack a fetch land after that. And he's also going to play a Master of the Unseen. So a big turn there for Mackl.
Yeah, good turn. Of course, none of those things enter Mantis, right?
Not at all. Thank you, Valentin.
We also have him put his graveyard not in the middle of play.
Yeah, he's a project. We're one thing at a time.
Yeah,
that Wooded Foothills.
with only 1 card in the graveyard, that's a bit confusing
It is
for
very
people
confusing.
watching at home, because that is just basically where you would have it if it was in play.
Right, and yeah, it's just one of those tough things because he's just habitually
Yes.
used to it now. But like, he just put the Wooded Foothills on a Silk Wrap, which is actually in play,
Yeah.
which
That did
is
happen.
not normal.
Wow, Luis is going to respond and counter this Den Protector, I imagine, with Ojutai's coming. At least once there's a 2nd card in the graveyard, it's a bit more obvious what's happening, although there are still right and wrong ways to do things. Disdainful Stroke. It's a good one.
That has been doing such good work for Valentin.
So big turn. Den Protector is going to land. There's already a Mastery in play, so can get some life off that, can bring back Disdainful Stroke. He cannot bring back Silk Wrap, as that is in play, despite the fact that it is also on top of his graveyard.
I'm asking him to move it for us. In the meantime, though, all of this being said, that Mantis Rider is just happily chipping away in the air here.
Yeah, it's a quick clock, but Mastery of the Unseen is going to get to undo a lot of this damage. Then Protector comes in. Imagine Luis is just going to take this damage.
Luis at 17 life has some wiggle room here.
Yeah, the Disdainful Stroke was huge. The Ojutai's command threatening to draw Luis a card and get the Den Protector out of play and get the card that would have come back from the graveyard. A lot of value on that Disdainful Stroke. Den Protector flips. Mastery trigger. Luis is going to respond to the trigger with a Crackling Doom, so
That looks
one
good.
less life for Den Protector to gain.
He got back the Disdainful Stroke.
Yeah, so the net result there is that he loses 1 life, takes 2 from the Crackling Doom, and only gains 1 because when the trigger resolves, Knight of the White Orchid's the only creature in play. Right. Graveyard is now in the graveyard.
Hey, we did it.
Mantis Rider takes Valentin down to 5. Definitely in the danger zone. Luis's hand is kind of chock full. Just take a look at that. It looks like a Fiery Impulse, an Ojutai's command, and a Crackling Doom.
All right, now he's got action. The last time he found himself in this position, he had land in his hand.
He
But
did.
now Valentin's down to 4. And Luis just needs to crack in one more time here.
Yeah, Luis has drawn quite a few more spells, but the big thing here is that he just had a Mana Strider stick.
Yes. Valentin has not been able to find an answer for it. And I mean, he provided a lot of pressure. He went Jace into Mana Strider, and Valentin had the answer for the Jace, but not the Rider. And so this is Ojutai's command, gaining life and drawing a card here for Scott-Vargas.
Yeah, Luis knows that there's Disdainful Stroke as one of Valentin's, I believe, 3 cards in hand.
Got it back with Den Protector, right?
Just looking to gain that life now, see what card he draws and decides whether he actually wants to fire off this Fire Impulse. Now, he does.
Now, this isn't going to prevent any life gain from Mackl here from that.
Potentially,
Manifest?
should he have hit a creature off the Manifest.
Right.
The downside is he could end up just playing a more for perhaps hitting a Manifest. Now, it looks like that's a Surge of Righteousness off the top. There's a great answer to Mana Strider.
Super important. Wow, right in the nick of time, too. Because Luis was setting up the win with Crackling Doom here.
Yeah, he was.
Luis blocked, it looks like.
So, Luis, yeah.
He sniffed it out. He said, well, I might as well get value here.
He's got Exert Influence in hand, but Valentin, as we know, has the answer. So now Luis kind of wishes the Ojutai's command had gotten countered so that Exert Influence would be online. This Mastery just threatens to take over the game now. Dragon Master Outcast off the top is fantastic, but only 5 lands, needs 6.
And I believe that Luis has actually just passed the turn back here. He's going to Crackling Doom now. And we'll get a life total check there. So Mackl's down to 4 now. We had him at 4 before, but he went up to 6. Now back down to 4, it looks like. And Manifest hits the red zone. So this is a crucial point in this match here. Luis so close to picking up game 2 and forcing a game 3 that it looks like Mackl has the game currently, so it's up to Luis to find something.
It's a Crackling Doom. It's part of the way. Valentin's kind of looking to just draw lands here. He's got plenty of good spells in hand, but he just wants to activate the Mastery. Wow, Den Protector
it was
big.
Den Protector. He's going to gain a life off of that. Get back another Den Protector.
Yeah, this is big. Valentin's definitely turning the corner here.
Oh, man. Wow, that Surge of Righteousness. Last turn possible.
Yeah, there were other answers that would have worked. Jamoka's command would have traded with the Knight. Could have drawn a Silk Wrap, but he had just manifested one and there was already one in play. So not a ton of answers. Found a good one. I guess the best one would have been Wingmate, however. Although not with Luis having a certain influence in hand, he wouldn't have actually had the mana to leave up Disdainful Stroke. It would have been an interesting spot. Another Surge for Mackl.
Did he actually get that back?
Oh, he got back the Surge. Yeah, there's the Den Protector still in the graveyard.
Yeah, he didn't want to lose to Mana Strider off the top, it looks like.
Very reasonable. Although Den Protector would potentially gain quite a bit of life.
Yes. Okay, another Manifest, and things are just starting to spiral out of control from Luis Scott-Vargas' perspective. And things are starting to look really good from Valentin Mackl's perspective. He's just about to start gaining a bunch of life and put anything immediate out of reach. This is going to be an Exert Influence that's going to get Disdainful Stroked, and he can't do that quickly enough. He's actually got 2 in his hand. Luis knew about one of them, so he knew that was going to get Disdainful Stroked, but he was all right with it.
He's trying to set up a window for his Tassiger to come down, but second Disdainful Stroke probably going to end this game.
Meanwhile, Scott-Vargas' life total's plummeting.
Does have 1 copy of Jeskai Charm in his deck. Wouldn't mind seeing that, I'm sure, but if any of these manifests, you can just flip up Den Protector. I think he's gotten to the point where it's too late if he doesn't have any other removal spell in hand.
Luis is almost done delving before Valentin Mackl fires off Disdainful Stroke on Tassiger, relegating that to the graveyard. There's Dragon Master Outcast, and his last card was Fire Impulse?
The 6th land, I believe.
Ah. Okay, so does this resolve? Yes. And is this going to be Valentin getting a bunch of... Oh, he's just going to activate his Master of the Unseen. As Luis is hellbent, he has no cards in hand, so Valentin can take his time here. So is this Dragon... Let's say the Outcast survives. Is it enough?
It's not enough. I mean, he just gets, like, making 1 token a turn. Valentin gets to make two 2/2s a turn. So despite the fact that the dragon's bigger, it doesn't have haste. He has a surge in hand, so it can't attack anyway. And these creatures are just going to win the game. I mean, he's got, you know.
He's down to 6 now as Luis.
Yeah. There's going to be even more creatures in play.
Wow, and a Wingmate Rock to follow up as well. So Valentin Mackl just seizing control of this game in the middle part after Luis was off to a quick start and protected
Luis
it.
is able to draw his Tragic Arrogance. No, he doesn't even have double white. Yeah, there's nothing. Jeskai Charm could do it if none of these things can flip up.
He's going to roast one of the morph.
Yeah, that's what just are after.
Does that keep him alive for a turn? Block.
Yeah, if
3,
nothing can
4,
flip
5,
up,
6,
he
7.
goes to 1.
But he has to chump block with the Dragon Master Outcast?
Gideon can come down and end the game. With an emblem.
Just emblem it up.
Yeah,
Yes,
no
and
cards
that's
in
what
hand.
happens. And Luis sees the writing on the wall, extends the hand, and picks up his 2nd loss of the tournament. So not a lot of wiggle room here for Luis. He started off 9-0, won his first match of the day, has dropped the last 2. So he's going to have to put together a run here in the next 3 rounds if he's going to make it into the top 8. Now, from Valentin Mackl's perspective, things are looking very good. Now he's
Fantastic.
X1, and he's actually got a little wiggle room here over these last 3 rounds.
Yeah, it's possible if he just wins one of the next 2 that he can draw in. That's a great great spot to be in.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Can't ask for anything better than that, really.
So on our back match, we've got Lexi Metler. She's on the left side, and she did win that game.
Wow. Wouldn't have minded seeing the conclusion to that one.
Now I'm
must
curious.
Must have been a good ending.
Yeah, it must have been sweet. Yeah, so she picks up the win there, and Bob Culp is going to have to win back-to-back games to
Well, I
stay in
guess
contention here.
Bob was going down to not too high of a life total. He actually could have cast Abzan Charm, or she could have cast Abzan Charm on the night if she wanted to, and drawn Siege Rhino off the top, although I doubt that's what happened because they've just finished game 1 not too long ago. That was a while back where we actually looked in, so. Siege Rhinos, though, when they travel in packs, they are tough to beat.
Crashes.
Monkeys.
Some friendly chatter between our players. I said earlier, Lexi's a level 2 judge. So if you recognize her, it could be because she gave you a warning.
Not me.
Helped you find where to put your match slip, something like that.
She probably gave you a warning, Marshall.
All right, well, she's going to give that hand a warning and send it right back. Bob Culp looks like he's kept his hand. He's going to be on the play with his Abzan tokens deck. Kind of interesting. Let's see if I can pull up the list here. See what Bob's all about with this deck. So looking through the list, he's got Wingmates, Catacomb Sifters, Hangerbacks. He is also playing Knight of the White Orchid. And then to make some tokens, he's got a Gideon, a Sorin, a Secure the Waste. Pretty cool.
A lot of tokens.
I'm
No
assuming,
Den Protector's main deck.
assuming there's a lot of Gideon emblems made by this deck.
Yeah, seems like a reasonable thing to make an emblem with.
Yeah, wow, no Den Protectors. But Catacomb Sifter kind of proving its mettle in Standard here. I know that was a card that stood out early as one of those. It's not a rare, it's not one of the big flashy mythics or whatever, but probably a card that has a requisite power level for Standard. All right, let's get underway here. Bob is going to crack his fetch pass, a turn back. Lexi's just going to kick things off with a Canopy Vista here. Ooh, Vista fight.
It's a mirror. Looks like a lot of expensive cards in his hand. I see a Sora and a Gideon and another end. Not sure what else is in there.
Lexi taking a page out of Valentin's Mackl's book here and playing an expedition.
You are missing your legacy event. Please come to table 830 now to join your event. Jarvis, you,
All right, so players are kind of, they have a truce until they get their mana set up, apparently, as nobody's done anything yet.
Yeah, it looks like this is Catacomb Sifter territory, though.
Okay. A fine start.
Well, if Bob is able to take this game, they're definitely going to be at risk of picking up a draw this round, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think you're right.
A little slow. Looks like a Warden potentially off the top. That could be a good one.
Stabilize.
Yeah, just get a 3/3 down there, although Bob's got a whole bunch of 4-drops. He's got a Surge, a Sora, and a Gideon, and other end, and looks like a Flooded Strand.
Looks like we've got about 19 minutes left in the feature match area
So
for these players.
ooh, an Anafenza, actually.
Oh, very nice. But yeah, I think you're right. If Bob does manage to win this game, he could be up against it.
Yep. So a lot of decent answers in Bob's hand for this one. Has the Surge that can take it down in combat. Could other end it. Or you could just set up a Planeswalker. Going the Planeswalker route. Pretty reasonable. Gonna have a lot of tokens.
participating in the 11 a.m. two-headed giant seal. Please, your round
And
one
yeah,
pairings
it's gonna make
are
a night.
now being posted. Again, players in the 11 a.m. two-headed giant seal. Your round one pairings
Land number
are
4
now
for
posted.
Lexi.
Looks like she's got some options. Looks like maybe a Silkraft and Bridger Mocha's command in there.
Still has that Warden.
I assume this is an attack at Gideon. I'm of course wrong.
Yeah, we're going to make sure we exile that Sifter, right? There we go. So that was right at Bob.
Yeah.
And
something
it
you
looks
see
like
every day.
Bob said no blocks. And then she fired off Dromoka's command and followed up with the Warden. Aggressive. Bob's at 12.
Yeah, but that can change pretty quickly.
Woo! How do you like 2 Planeswalkers?
2 is better than 1.
Not bad at all. So let's see what he wants to do here. Start off by making a knight.
Nope.
No. He's going to gain a bunch of life here. Crunch.
Interesting. Oh,
What is that,
So-
10?
that
With
is
lifelink?
11.
11 with lifelink?
It's a lot of damage to deal, but leaving no creatures block means that
Yeah.
Lexi can just wipe out some Planeswalkers if she wants.
That
Take
is
this damage.
Risky business. He is I mean, both of these players very aggressively playing here. They are picking fights with each other.
Absolutely.
It looks like they're having some like fun chatter between each other, but maybe they're just yelling at each other.
Oh, white man is big here. She can actually take down both Planeswalkers with this Dromoka's command if she wants to.
and a creature. Like, she could leave Bob's board with, like, Eldrazi Scion after this?
No, she'd have to pump the Warden. So she would have to tap out, but
Okay.
could wipe it. I would imagine that's what she wants to do.
Pump.
Nope, attacked Bob, I guess. No, that he shouldn't have attacked Bob. He just gained 11, right?
Yeah, he's at 19.
All right, so
Soren down. She did level up.
yeah, I think this was just a misstep here because she's leaving up Abzan trying to be able to take down the Gideon, but she could have actually just attacked with Gideon and made her Warden a 5/5.
Right, because remember the Anafenza is already a 4/4.
It's already a 5/5. It took down
Excuse
Soren.
me, a 5/5 to take down Soren. So that was a one shot.
And now this Transgress, I believe, is going to take the Abzan Charm, so that's just going to end the game.
The game ended.
Yeah, Transgress takes Abzan Charm. Gideon finishes the game. So needed to take down the Gideon on her turn.
All right, so that was an intense game. The players just decided to just go at each other's throats there, and it ended up that Bob had the one spell he needed extra to finish things off, and that is going to force a game 3, though that was a pretty quick one. Like I said, when we came in to game 2, we had about 19 minutes, and that probably only took 7 or 8 or something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be a tight race to actually be able to finish this match. I'm guessing there's about 14 on the clock. Probably take a couple to shuffle here. It's doable, but you're going to have to play briskly.
Yeah. I think they can do it.
Oh,
Based on
it's
how they
certainly
played
doable.
this game, just get you. Somebody's going to die.
Yes. So if we don't focus on trying to kill the planeswalkers that are killing us and just go right after people's throats, we can finish games.
I like it. It's
I'm going to try to kill you. It didn't work, so I'm dead. But
I like Lexi. Her deck box is one of those limited edition Judge ones. She's running that out there.
Ryan Saban, Kyle Shriver. Ryan Saban, Carl Shriver. Please return to your table 479 to meet your
this is a big game. Winner of this match goes to 11-1, puts themselves in great position to top 8, puts themselves in great position to qualify for the Pro Tour.
Yeah. Wow. There is actually just a ton on this next game.
It really is.
They're not guaranteed with a victory, but just such a good spot.
Yeah. Factual statements.
And it looks like Lexi's making just a last-minute change to her sideboard decision here. Bob's ready to rumble. He's got the presentation all finished. Saw Lexi look out of the feature match area and signal to somebody going to game 3. We've got a stage set up. You can kind of see the corner of it in the back there where the
Check out
spectators
everyone's
here.
footwear.
Yeah?
Should we go around and maybe give some grades?
No.
We'll call
I don't
that
think
plan
we're
B.
qualified. But yeah, and the spectators can get up a little bit higher on the stage so they get a good view of the feature match area here without getting too close and disturbing the players. It's a really nice setup.
Of course, our cameraman is hanging from the ceiling,
Yeah.
risking life and limb.
And also holding the camera very steady for many hours on end. Really impressive stuff. Thanks, Rusty. Great work.
It looks like a pretty solid 2-land tan for Lexi. I saw a Warden, a Dromoka's Command, a Sea Rhino in there.
I'm sold.
You can keep that.
Sneep it. All right, so Lexi kicking things off with the first threat of the game, which is...
Looks like a Knight of the White Orchid in Bob's hand. A pretty nice card to have on the draw.
We saw that from Valentin Mackl in game 2 against Scott-Vargas, and it really helped him turn around that game. attack, no pumps. So she's got something else in mind here.
Guessing a Hingerback Walker? Is that even in her list?
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah. In fact,
Four of those bad boys. Yep.
Yeah, good read.
Hangy
Efro.
B.
Hangy B in the house. So, yeah, nice start. One drop and a 2-drop here for Lexie, plus they're relatively difficult to deal with. 2 different types of threats. She's moving her game plan forward. No play yet for Bob. He's just going to get a Canopy Vista with his fetch land there.
It doesn't look like he has a third land, but he does have that Knight of the White Orchid, so that could potentially be turned on next turn, depending if Lexie has a land, although I didn't actually see if she had a third land of her own. Looked like there's a Silk Wrap in his hand that can deal with one of these threats of his choosing. Kind of not an easy choice of what you want to deal with. You know, Hangerback Walker, a bigger problem later in the game, Warden the bigger problem now.
But now you turn on Dromica's command potentially by making this play, right?
True.
That's a tough decision.
Looks like that's what's going to happen because Lexie just doesn't have a third land.
She's going to attack, put a counter, make you sacrifice. And she's not hitting her third land here?
I don't think so.
Uh-oh, this could come back to bite her here.
Although Bob doesn't have a third land and was planning on Knight of the White Orchid. He doesn't have a third land either.
Oh, no. The Knight of the White Orchid plan backfires on Bob here.
He may just have to run it out there, but he takes the damage to do it and still doesn't have a third land in hand.
So sad.
Pretty rough when your deck is kind of full of 4-drops, although he does have a Catacomb Sifter, so a land off the top could enable the Scion to be able to cast a 4-drop. Of course, she draws the third land now.
Of course she does. And she can use this to find black mana, right? She's got a Sunken Hollow.
Oh, she has a Sunken Hollow, yeah. Absolutely. These nice mana bases.
That's why that one Sunken Hollow's in there. Now she can play on Offensive the Foremost. Oof, that was a big draw step there for Lexie hitting that land. And in some strange way, the fact that she didn't find it last turn helped her out.
Yeah. Although having Anafenza down would have been pretty nice last turn.
Not
too.
bad, not bad.
And now Bob draws his third land.
Of course he does.
Everyone's right on time.
Ugh. It's funny. Rusty, who's our graphics, he's sitting down right next to the match, updating the life totals, said that before the last game, Lexie said, "Let's have a beautiful game, Bob." I love that. That's great.
There's land 4, and you know what that means for the Abzan colors.
I do indeed. Moo time.
So beginning of combat, Anafenza going to get exiled. That's 2 points of damage, though. Bob with double pain land draw.
Oh, no.
So now he has to decide whether he wants her to sink 2 men into Warden and effectively chump block, or if Siege Run is going to come down. If he does chump block, I think that's transgressed the mind in her hand.
So Lexi Metler firing on all cylinders here.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
This is getting out of control here from Bob's side. He needs to hit a land here and start deploying these 4-drops, and I think he missed again.
Just drew another 4-drop. So Catacomb Sifter comes down, but it's just everything that he's got is just so small comparatively. Another land for Lexi is Wingmate Rock territory, which would end the game, I believe.
She did not hit a land there, but she's way ahead at this point.
This is an interesting decision of whether she wants. Her attacks are not great because the double blocks that Bob can set up are very good against her, and she doesn't have anything in hand. That being said, he would take quite a bit of damage to double block, and she is threatening tricks in hand. Not that he can play around anything at 7 life and behind on board. And
as we've seen the trend between these two, when in doubt, ship him in there. So in comes the team for Lexi Metler.
Yeah, this doesn't work out fantastically on the surface. If Bowler's at 20 life, this is a pretty bad attack because he can double block Catacomb Sifter Scion on Warden, block Hangerback Walker with Knight of the Orchid. Of course, that means Bob's going down to 3 and facing multiple Thopter tokens. Lexi gets to deploy more cards from her hand post-combat and doesn't care that her creatures are dying because she's threatening to win the game next turn.
Bob just stumbling on mana, hoping to leverage Knight of the White Orchid, unable to do so.
could block Knight of the White Orchid on Warden, Catacomb Sifter on Hangerback Walker, or the other way around. Either way, it's kind of the same thing. And kind of force her to pump mana into the Warden of the first tree, which would mean that she can't have quite as good a follow-up play. But anything that Lexie does is going to leave her in great shape. She's just ahead on board and hugely ahead in life total. Basically just threatening if this Wingmate Rock ever comes down, it lights out.
I'll tell you what, Lexie was hoping for a beautiful game, and I think from her perspective, she's put one together here.
All right, the Hangerback, he decides to keep the Hangerback around. The Warden's going to die. He gets a Scry, looking for a land. Of course, even if he finds lands, 2 of his lands right now are pain lands, and his hand's just not even very good. He needs multiple lands to turn on that Wingmate Rock, which also means a creature attacking, which means one less blocker.
Yeah, he also has no basic lands, so any of his battle lands are going to come in tapped. Ugh. This is just a tough spot, and he's going to get transgressed here as well.
Here's a whole bunch of cards I can't really cast, don't have a huge impact on the game. Which one do you want?
She's going to take Utter End.
I agree with that. Now, Bob's way back into this game involves these Wingmate Rocks coming down. It's just, there just isn't time for it.
Looks like he found a third Caves of Koilos. For poor Bob Culp here, is this going to be the end of the line for him? He can fire off Secure the Waste for 3 without taking any damage.
If Lexie has no cards, he never draws another card, effectively. Bob can cast Secure the Waste, he can block the Hangerback Walker, he can suck up enough damage from the Siege Rhino that he doesn't die, can attack, can play Wingmate Rock, maybe get back in the game. Fortunately for him, Lexie's got a Wingmate Rock of her own, and that's just going to do it.
And that's going to do it.
Just 3 life to work with. It's just not enough. Plus, even if the game were to go longer, it's just any Siege Rhino off the top ends the game as well. So, everything blocks Siege Rhino down to 1 life, down to 1 creature, and there's going to be 3 creatures on the other side of the table in about 15 seconds.
And 2 of them are going to have flying. Yeah, this is just too much to overcome for poor Bob.
Not to mention, look at Bob's lands. He's at 1 life.
Yeah, he can't tap any of those for colored
He can't
mana.
cast spells if he wanted to. He can't fetch a land. Battle lands don't come into play untapped.
So things looking very good for Lexi Metler to improve to 11-1 with just a few more rounds to go here down the stretch in the Swiss portion of day 2. And he can't even crack it, and Bob just has to show her what he's got. And Lexi Metler improves to 11-1. And we'll keep an eye on her as we go down the stretch as she's making a run for the top 8. Again, she's a level 2 judge. Bob still in it, though. He's going to have to shake that one off and try to finish strong. All right, let's get some Turbo Magic going. We've got Patrick Chapin. That's him on the left. Douglas Bauer, who we saw last round in the feature match area, defeat Luis Scott-Vargas, I believe. And it looks like an Ultimate Price took down a Warden of the first tree, but he's got a replacement here.
What is Doug actually on? Is he on an Abzan deck with just no white mana currently?
Yeah, he's on Abzan, yeah.
This is not really the start you want if you're on Abzan. With your Esper opponent has Jace in play, you have no white mana, and they're at about 20 life. All right, there's white mana. There's not the best turn 4 play, and it runs into Clash of Wills. Jace turned on. And this is usually the point of the game where Esper just runs away and hides. It's so hard to come back from. Chapin playing against Abzan, knows there aren't too many targets for negate, doesn't want to give his opponent potentially 2 creatures he has to deal with. So he's just going to counter. He's going to negate another one with Silumgar's command.
Here comes Jace Vryn's Prodigy now for Chapin. Drawing
Third
some
Abzan
cards here.
It's what you want. You want to be drawing cards. Try to get some threats down, but knowing your opponent already has Planeswalkers and is charging up.
Geez, Planeswalkers, more lands, no threats for Doug.
Just flashing back Anticipate, knowing that this other Jace can flip and get even more loyalty online.
All right, there's Hangerback Walker. A reasonable threat if there ever was one.
Looks like Chapin's going to flip the second Jace. Discarding Ojutai's command, that's a bad feeling. When you're playing
talking
against
about
Esper.
for Doug?
Yeah.
Because you know it means that there's worse coming.
Yep.
In fact, it's dig through time here for Chapin. I mean, this game's just over,
I
right?
wonder if Chapin drew that dig through time off the Jace. I'd love to cast dig through time before using your Jace just so that you can get a couple extra loots out of it.
Ah. How often do you find yourself in a spot where you'd prefer Jace to just stay as a looter?
Pretty often. I mean, especially when you have another Jace in play, you're just replacing it.
Yeah.
If you're not going to be flashing back a spell, it's very reasonable just keep that looter around. Make sure that your hand always has exactly what you want. But, I mean, I think Chapin's already at that point where he's got a hand of everything he wants, and the game is just getting out of hand at this point.
I mean, barring miracles, there's just no real way for Doug to come back from this position against a deck like what Patrick's doing, right?
Including miracles, actually, yes.
Including miracle cards, yeah.
Well, Chapin's just got counter spells. He's got board sweepers. He's got, he's discarding Ojutai's commands every turn. That's effectively dismiss against this deck.
He just dismissed a Wingmate Rock with it, in fact. Yeah, this is a tough, tough spot for Doug Bauer.
The question more comes down, I believe right now, if you're Doug Bauer, is how long do you let this go on, and how much time do you want to leave yourself on the clock?
Yeah, I think that is a reasonable spot here in game one.
Like, if you don't know exactly what this deck does, you're going to keep playing. You want to see what the win condition actually is. Is he planning on actually milling me out with Jace, which I believe at this point will do it.
Mm-hmm.
He could certainly ultimate this Jace and never have to show something like Ugin, his actual, more usual win condition, but Bob has no cards in hand and no threats.
Yeah, maybe this is the time.
This
now that he's seen
is
an
a good
Ugin,
time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in the don't concede camp when it comes to taking your win percentage. But in a position like this, the clock becomes super relevant, and you have to think about it in terms of win percentage for the match, not just the game you're playing. And if conceding gives you a better win percentage for the match, then you should always do it.
Well, now you have to show your entire deck because you're.
This
about to
is
get
also
deck
an
by Jace.
issue. So this is a Jace emblem going to work now, as well as Dragonlord Silumgar. Yeah, this one is firmly in the books. Patrick Chapin's going to win game one. Patrick came in. This is, I believe, table one of the tournament. Yeah, this is table one. They're both on 31 points coming in.
So they're both undefeated? Is that right? Or
with a draw, yeah.
Yeah, 10-0-1.
Mm-hmm. And that will do it for game one.
That's definitely a record that you don't want to pick up a second draw if you can help it. 2-2 is very likely to make top 8.
That was a transgress the mind there for Douglas.
Yeah.
That's got to be good against Chapin. He's got 3 choices here. It looks like Chapin went for a Monastery Mentor sideboard plan here.
This Painful Truth should be exiled from Transgress the Mind.
Yes. That could be very important.
Yeah, with Dig Through Time already in hand.
Normally we would be able to call down to our spotter and just remind them, but
We can call down, but since this happened in the past.
Yeah, it's a little tough. We can't really dig through time to make that happen.
Not one of your many superpowers.
No. Siege Rhino hits the battlefield here for Douglas Bauer. And Chapin still with Monastery Mentor, but he's just going to pass the turn back. What's the thinking on the Monastery Mentor, by the way? What's the sideboard plan with that?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm curious. I haven't seen it much.
It ends the game pretty quickly. It creates a lot of tokens. There's not a lot of, non-creature spells in the deck. It very similar to what we've talked about with Narset, but I'm not sure exactly where he wants it, where he doesn't want it. Wow, that was a Hallowed Moonlight coming down to counter the Wingmate Rock token.
Oh.
Draw a card, make a monk.
Wow.
That's
Hallowed
pretty
Moonlight.
excellent. So 2 mana, make a 1/1 prowess, destroy your 3/4 flyer, draw a card. That's
Is that
a good card.
Yeah. Like, did get a little bit awkward there because the Painful Truth just got exiled to the.
I'll give you awkward on that one.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Although
tough. They both missed it, so what are you going to do? But
yeah, it doesn't
Not
look like
ideal.
it mattered unless
No.
he's playing a 4-mana spell. He is playing a 4-mana
He's playing
spell.
more
So
4-mana spell.
Okay.
Yeah, who knows? It's hard to say at this point, but look, check out that board from Chapin.
although the 4-mana spell is not doing a whole lot either, but
Monks aplenty.
yeah, he's definitely monk flooded. This is an obscene amount of
This is ridiculous.
I can't imagine.
He has
I don't like
5
those out,
monks?
but I can't imagine that this game lasts more than one more turn.
No. Not at all. All right, Monk's in. There's 2 Siege Rhinos over there, and every single creature from Patrick Chapin playing Esper Control is hitting the red zone. That's 6 creatures. 2 monks get blocked. All he needs to do is probably just cast a couple of spells and the game's over. He had Surge of Righteousness to take down 1 monk. Trigger, 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 trigger.
It's 9 damage. That's 13 damage. Now Abzan Trime will take out the Monastery Mentor right on time. Another monk comes down.
Unfortunately for Doug, these monks have prowess on their own. They're not dependent on their leader. So, yeah, you got to figure this one's just about done.
I do figure that.
So there's a, yeah, and that was it. He just showed him a spell and
Any
was like,
spell.
"You're dead." So Patrick Chapin still undefeated here as we end the round in Indianapolis.